Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Westwood, and I'm here today with senior columnist Tim Carney. And Tim, President Biden made a lot of controversial moves and comments this week with regards to his energy agenda with gas prices climbing. And one of them was another controversial request to OPEC. What's going on?
So he's been begging OPEC, which is mostly Middle Eastern oil countries, to increase production, but they actually want to do the opposite because while all this inflation is going on, oil prices have actually dropped from $120 a barrel down to about $80, and so they're worried about their profits dropping, and so they're actually cutting back on production just at the time when we can't have that, because that's an inflation issue, right? Less stuff and more money means higher prices and more inflation. So the Biden administration is in the position of begging these other countries to give us more oil, while our sort of environmental policy is about clamping down on our own production of oil.
Yeah, how has the Biden administration been sort of squaring that circle with, the energy department suppressing domestic energy production while they're asking countries with less regulations to increase production? I mean, have they even addressed that contradiction?
I mean, they're ignoring it. Actually, energy production in the U.S. is always going to be environmentally more clean than energy production overseas. And in fact, the other international move that they've done is, according to new reports, Biden administration is talking about rolling back its sanctions against Venezuela. Now, these are there for sort of human rights violations. There's all sorts of arguments against sort of sanctions against a country in that case. Are you hurting the people more? Are you actually driving the government out? But in this case, Biden administration has backed these sanctions and now is rolling them back because Chevron has the ability to pump a lot of oil there and possibly send it up here if we get rid of those sanctions. So it's another situation where our foreign policy is being driven by let's get more oil, while our domestic policy is driven by let's stop pumping fossil fuels are bad for the planet.
How is that not putting him crosswise with the left, flank of his base?
It is, but he doesn't have many choices because, again, inflation is really the major weight around Democrats' neck right now. And as we've seen from, the Fed's action where they're raising interest rates to combat inflation, or the recent news, stock market rallied a little bit because employment figures are actually looking a little worse. Those both point to the only way out of inflation might be a recession, which obviously would be disastrous for a lot of American people, but also for the Democrats. So the other way to get out of inflation is to somehow increase the amount of stuff that people could buy. Oil would be a prime one of that, but again, the domestic political pressures make it so he can't really open up oil production in the U.S. So Biden is telling the rest of the world, drill, baby, drill, and whether they'll listen, we'll find out.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more writing from Tim and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.